Your Views, My Facts, begins in 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Thomas John. This is Your Views and My Facts, where we have debates, discussion, and interviews with no topics off limits. We try to provide here some humor, agitation, some aggression, getting opposing views each and every episode. With me in the studio, I've got two guests.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Sean.
Hey, how everybody doing? I'm Rich. Go by Ronaldo or Rich.
Okay, where were you originally from?
Chicago, Illinois.
I'm also from near Chicago.
Wait, what was that?
I'm from near Chicago.
New Chicago?
Near Chicago.
Oh, near Chicago.
Northwest Indiana, to be specific.
At first, I thought he said New Chicago.
I thought he said New Chicago as well.
Well, I mean, there's a city called East Chicago, Indiana. Just so you know.
You mean Gary, Indiana?
No, it's before you get to Gary. It's East Chicago.
Wait, hold on. There's a town in Indiana
Yes.
that is called East Chicago.
Pretty sure. Now I'm going to have to look this up.
Well, you shouldn't be stating stuff that you can't verify.
See, now look, again, for everybody that tunes in and tries to find some of this humor, this is the shit that I'm talking about. You got multiple people that just start to rambling off and make these dumb fucking claims, acting like they know some shit, and then I got to challenge them because some things just don't sound right. Now it could be right, but you pry at them once, and then it's kind of like, oh man, I don't know. I gotta look at this. So after looking, Sean,
Now I'm going to show it to you on Google Maps.
I don't need a Google map. Just tell me. I mean, what's the zip code?
So he fact checked it. It actually says East Chicago, Indiana.
Check it out.
When he Googled it.
What is that next to?
It's right next to Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, it's right outside of Gary, Indiana.
What is that, like Lake Michigan right there?
Yeah,
Correct.
it's Lake Michigan.
Man, that's pretty good. I mean, all I can see is just a little blue thing on this Google Maps over here, and I just took a guess at which one of the 5 lakes. Hey, all right, here's a quick test for either one of you. Whoever wants to go first, if you think you could do it, can you name me all 5 Great Lakes? Who wants to go? Hand raised. Anyone? Neither of you two can do this.
I can name 4.
This 4?
At least right now.
Oh, come on. Rich, you got anything?
Well, you have Lake Michigan.
Well, don't start yet. You might have just taken one of mine.
We just clearly stated Lake Michigan.
Okay. All right.
You have more than 4?
Okay. Yeah. Can you do more than 4? I can name this tune in.
I can name 4.
All right.
Oh man. Well, do you guys know the mnemonic phrase on how to remember the Great Lakes?
No.
Homes. Homes.
Oh, okay. Then there we go then.
Boom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, now I know them all. I was missing the
See, now where did you guys go to school at?
Chicago.
Northwest Indiana. Not great places.
Okay, so I don't want to leave people hanging here. We can't just be saying like we know them and then we don't know them. So all right, that's H.
Huron.
O.
Ontario.
M.
Michigan.
E.
Erie.
S.
Superior.
And what's the largest one?
Superior.
I think Erie.
Erie? No. It'll either be Michigan or Superior.
I think it's Ontario.
Nah.
I'm just gonna guess them all until he says it.
I honestly have no clue. But I'm going to guess.
I couldn't name them all. Obviously, I don't know.
I'm going to guess that it is not Superior.
Because it would be too easy.
Right. And I don't think anybody's ever that clever to do something like that.
It just makes too much sense.
It does
Well,
make too much
back when
sense.
they named them and stuff, they probably didn't have them all mapped out.
Right, but you guys have never heard of that little phrase of going up hey, homes?
Probably when I was in like 3rd grade.
Well, I still remembered it. Okay. Well, how do you remember the planets?
I just know them.
Yeah.
I don't know like a phonetic form.
My very educated mother just showed us 9 planets.
Well, that wouldn't work anymore anyway.
Bullshit, it doesn't work.
Well, Pluto's not a planet.
It is in my goddamn book. Pluto's a planet.
I go by facts, and scientifically, it's not a planet.
Look, it was a planet for years upon years.
That's fine.
And
Science changes things every day.
I'm going to live in my world that Pluto is still a planet.
Yeah, for majority of our life, Pluto was a planet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a planet.
So it takes a lot of people a long time to get with the times and get with science.
Stop. You can't. Well, hold on. Would you agree that science needs to go through like the
Looks like Lake Superior was the biggest. I mean, just from looking at a map.
the scientific method? You had Pluto as a planet for years, and then just out of nowhere, and by nowhere I mean within in a very short amount of time.
Probably the last 3 or 4 years.
Now it's been at least 8.
You think so?
I think I was at school when...
It has been a while.
When it went away.
Yeah, but in just a short amount of time, you had them just say it's no longer a planet. So if science is supposed to take testing theories, right?
So part of this comes from the fact that they didn't know about exoplanets at the time. So they identified anything that wasn't a moon or a satellite as a planet because of what they knew, because they couldn't see what was beyond Pluto very well back then. They couldn't identify these smaller entities or these smaller bodies that were near the edge of the solar system. And then after science has improved and our telescopes have improved, they've identified there are many, many exoplanets, which is now what I think Pluto is considered. And part of the proof is that there are other exoplanets that are out there that are doing the same thing as Pluto that are actually bigger than Pluto. So that is where it was re-identified based on further evidence and further discovery, I guess.
So the simple fact that it is not a certain size now.
There are multiple different things that go into categorizing a planet, or I believe they're called exoplanets or dwarf planets. I'm sure there's a huge list of requirements that they've created. But when the planet requirement was designed, they didn't know about these other bodies.
Okay, look. Here we go. From the Library of Congress.gov, all right, which should be a very reputable source. I mean, just off the surface, correct? You would agree with that?
It should be.
Well, you don't even know what I'm about to say, so I feel like you're hesitant.
Well, you wanted me to agree with you before you told me what you were going to say, so I said it should be.
Rich, I mean, you would think anything .gov should be a little bit more reputable than like a .com.
It should be.
Okay, so the International Astronomical Union, better known as the IAU, downgraded the status of Pluto to that of a dwarf planet because it did not meet the 3 criteria the IAU uses to find a full-size planet. Essentially, Pluto meets all the criteria except one, which it has not cleared its neighboring region of other objects. And this happened in 2006 is when it got downgraded.
11 years ago.
But the other two what?
Sorry.
The other 2 criteria, one, it is in orbit around the sun.
Correct.
It does that. It has sufficient mass to assume hydrostatic equilibrium, which is a nearly round shape.
So the point is that I think they made is that there are many other dwarf planets in our solar system who meet those 2 criteria, who orbit the sun and also have a round shape. But they don't meet that 3rd criteria. So if we wanted to make Pluto a planet, that would also entail that we have maybe 25 planets now or something like that, because there are other bodies out there that do have those same 2 criteria met.
Yeah, right. I'm tracking. Basically, this is going to sit here, and all the billions of years it has lived there has not managed to clear its neighborhood. You may wonder what that means. Not clearing its neighboring region of other objects sounds like a minesweeper in space.
Yes.
Have you ever beaten Minesweeper?
Yes.
That seemed like that was not
on easy mode. I mean,
you need to throw that on expert it.
Oh man, it's too much time.
And just do the most amount that you can.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard once you figure out the math behind what they're doing.
I don't know. I know it's not hard, but I can't remember if I ever beat it on expert. Okay.
I can see Rich doing it, and he probably puts it on expert, but then he just puts in like 1 mine. And you probably have the luck that
mode.
you click the 1 square, but you click the one that has the mine. But anywho, so this means that the planet has become gravitationally dominant. That there are no other bodies of comparable size other than its own satellites or those otherwise under its gravitational influence in its vicinity in space. I don't want to get too off topic about homes and that East Chicago, Indiana is near Lake Michigan. So
It's also near Chicago in Illinois.
Near Gary.
It's also near Gary.
Yeah.
I lived on the other side of Gary, though. I didn't live in East Chicago.
Well, the other side of Gary is Chicago.
No, East Chicago's on the east side, or the west side. On the other side, it's Portage, Miller, and then Portage, Indiana.
East Chicago will be east of Gary.
It's not, though. It's east of Chicago.
But it's also east of Gary.
No, it's not.
If it's east of Chicago, it's east of Gary.
Okay, it goes Chicago,
Gary.
East Chicago, then Gary.
That's not true. You just looked at it on the map.
Ooh. All right, so the claim is that Rich believes that East Chicago is east of Gary.
Yes.
That's the claim.
Tell me what that says.
I've been proven wrong.
Let me take a look. See here. Yeah, that would appear that is just a little bit northwest of Gary. Well, who cares? Who cares about Gary? Who cares about
I'm sorry, I'm an expert of Northwest Indiana.
It's because there's
Including
nothing.
Chicago. East Chicago, though. Not Chicago.
All right. So here's what I want to get into today, though, and I want to explain my frustration, and I want to just know where you two feel on this same subject, and maybe how far we can extrapolate this out, because it pisses me off every time this happens. So I went out yesterday with my buddy and his wife, which just so happened to be Sean, who's sitting here. And we went out to a restaurant in the local area. Now, to give you a little backstory on this restaurant, they have this thing called Pint Night every Tuesday, where you could basically go pay $4 and get whatever rotational beer that they have on tap from the local area, or it could be from a major brewery, which I've also found. I mean, they've had Corona and some other shit beers on tap. And so for $4 you could pay, you can get this beer, you get a souvenir fucking pint glass, and then for $2 you can get basically refills until the beer goes out, right? Until the cake's tapped. All right. So a lot of people like to go to this restaurant basically Tuesdays only because of that specific reason. Now, it's usually never packed, but it's got decent foot traffic for the area. Now, in no way is this restaurant 2 stars. I mean, it maybe just crests 1 star as like as a bar.
In my opinion, they have pretty good food, and they have a really wide variety of beer selection. The only part that they're terrible at is their service. It's pretty awful.
Oh, believe me, that's what we're about to go into, is the service. But the majority of their food is food that almost any place could make.
You know, you
Okay.
can make it at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, but they have a really large wing selection with unique sauces that they make and that are only there. I mean, you can have homemade pizzas there. They have pasta, steaks, burgers, tons of appetizers. They have seafood. I mean, it's a pretty wide variety of food. So, I mean, and I've never really heard people get something and be like, this tastes disgusting. I've only heard people complain about their service.
Well, there is nothing there that, yeah, you can't make it home, that you can't you can't find me another restaurant, right? So if you wanted to go have your homemade pizza, I'm sure I can find 5 other restaurants that make homemade pizza that will outperform that one.
Yeah.
Or 5 other restaurants that can make,
Or make your homemade pizza at home.
right?
That's correct,
Or-
but-
yeah.
I mean, but you can say the same thing about almost any restaurant, that they don't serve things that other places don't serve. Okay.
Sure, yeah, you're right, but multiple things come into play, right? Which, you know, and normally the biggest thing, right, is then going to be the service, right?
Correct. I
So
agree with
I can look over a lot of things, you know, barring that at least the service is up to par. There are some things that I can't look over. So if I'm paying $50 for a steak, granted, this place does not offer you a $50 steak, but if I'm paying $50 for a steak, that silverware better not have it better not have one single water drop on it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's just fucking insane, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, you shouldn't have water spots on your silverware if you're paying $50 for a steak. But when you're doing restaurant rating, I mean, you're not only looking at the food or the menu variety on the menu, but you're also looking at service and, like you said, I guess how it appeals to you. You know, so.
Right. I'd prefer to go somewhere with a much better service that has less of a selection.
And then also, you know, seating arrangement, you know, makes a big deal as well. I mean, if they have ample seating for
Thomas could probably
the
talk
crowd,
about
you
this
know.
place as well about that problem.
Yeah, seating. So that's exactly what I want to start with. So we get there at, what was it? Maybe
Like
20 minutes.
20 minutes before 5 is when they start.
Yeah, 20 minutes before 5, which is when they normally start this pint night, which is so you can get there beforehand. You just cannot get the pint night until actually 5 o'clock. So another little tidbit is that you can't even make reservations after 1 o'clock. So you have to do it well beforehand.
And they open at 11.
And they open at 11. So they're giving you a 2-hour window to call and make these reservations. So we get there, and I'd already told my buddy when he asked me in a text, hey, you coming to Pint Night? And I go, do we have a reservation? To which he responded, well, it's just going to be 4 of us. We don't need one.
To clarify, you also need 8 people in order to make a reservation at this restaurant.
Funny thing about that is I saw in a 4-person booth there when we got there was a reserve sign on one of them.
So, I mean...
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. So here I am. He goes, it's only 4 of us. We don't need one. And I said, yeah, so what you're telling me is that we're not going to get a seat then, right? Because essentially you just walk in, which means that anybody could just walk in and go get a seat. So we get there at about 4:40, and there is no hostess. You know, as soon as you walk in, there's no hostess, but the sign is there that says, please wait to be seated. Like, I'm not a fucking adult that I can't go find an empty spot. So I take a gander at the paper, right, that you write down the names on. 3 names ahead. At least 3 names that didn't have a line through them. So I'm thinking, okay, like, this probably shouldn't be too bad. I look over to my right, empty booth. Look over right behind where the hostess stands, empty booth. No reserve signs on it. Now there's another booth that's in between those two, essentially kind of kitty cornered. So in both these, you know, all 3 of these are four person booths, but the third one had a reserve sign on it. Then there was like a high top table over on the bar side, you know, that had a piece of paper which I presume had somebody's name on it for a reserved. But she could, so then it was finally after 6 minutes, 7 minutes.
I wouldn't say it was too long. Yeah, maybe 3 to 5
It
minutes.
was longer than what it needed to be.
It was long enough for us to look at this paper, look around the restaurant, and figure out that there should be seating for us.
Well, right, yeah, but I mean, a hostess, right, is obviously supposed to be right there, taking people
seating
to
somebody.
Sure, but there's
Coming
no.
right back.
Yeah, but I can't believe exactly. It was too long, given the size of this restaurant, that she was seating somebody or him. Since we live in a you know, I don't want to get sexist here. Maybe it was a dude, right? I guess he'd be called a host then, but whatever. So, anywho, it was way too long for that host and or hostess to be, you know, gone into the back, and then to come back forward and to possibly seat us. So once she finally came up, then she looks at us and she goes, what, it'll be maybe half an hour.
Right, she told us originally 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. And so I think Sean right then said, you know, that's fine, or okay. And then I think she realized maybe, or she just, again, clueless, and so she finally thought enough to say, or you guys could sit over here, right? Which was one of the empty booths.
Right.
And I don't know if her thought process was, well, that booth is right in the front to where a lot of people might be standing by, right? Because it's right next to the door. So you might feel claustrophobic or being surrounded by individuals. But why on God's green earth would you even sit here and say it's going to be 30 minutes when I'm looking right at 2 empty fucking booths? So, was I crazy? Should I have manned up and said something, Rich?
I mean, yeah, definitely. Because you don't know what's going through her head. Maybe she's having an off day, or maybe she's for some fucking reason super busy and not thinking. But yeah, I may say, hey, well, what's going on with these 2 booths right here? You know.
My other question to that is, there's 3 people ahead of us on this list. How are there 2 empty booths and then 3 extra people? How are you going to tell us we can take this booth if there's 3 other people waiting 20 to 30 minutes for their booth?
Yeah, I don't care about that.
I just think it's bizarre that
I mean,
that
unless
was
those
a
are
situation.
like massive parties. And
No, it said right next to him how many people are in those
okay.
parties too.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I suppose yes, I should have probably said something. You know, and maybe I would have had it not kind of developed the way it did, because it did go fairly quickly from, yeah, we can wait, and then if I was even trying to remotely put a sentence together in my head of how am I going to say something to this girl without telling her to, you know, to go fuck herself, then she said, oh, you could sit here. Okay, yeah, we will sit here. So my problem is that, so I just went back home on leave for a couple weeks, and you know, I went out to eat a few times. You know, I've been in other states, various other places. You know, been overseas as well, and I just don't run into these issues the way that I run into them out here in good old California. So, I mean, it just starts with that. Like, what is the level of, you know, service or the give a fuck out here? I mean, does anybody else notice these things? Like, I mean, do you guys notice them when you go back home? Like, is it different?
You know, I think it depends on the type of place you're eating at. I wouldn't classify it as state by state, but I mean, like you said, I know California does have some fucking issues, unlike other states. But I look at it as what you expect when you go into these places. So if I'm going into, for instance, the place you all went, you know, yesterday, I mean, what type of people are they hiring? You know, so like that's how I look at it, the level of service that I should expect. If I'm paying
Blondes, by the way. I mean, just
throw that out there.
yeah.
Well, a big problem with this place is that they're almost always understaffed, especially for the fact that they know that every Tuesday at this time they're packed. And yet, every Tuesday at this time, they don't have menus. We get like 2 menus for a table of 8 half the time. They don't have enough staff. They take your order, and then it's 40 minutes before they come back and ask if you need a refill. Like, this place is just either understaffed or they have incompetent people working for them.
Yeah, and it's probably a little bit of both, you know.
And
so.
they don't know if they're a restaurant or a bar. So that's another problem. Like, people go to this place, especially on Pint Night, they go there to sit there for hours, right? So it's not going to be easy to get a table because they don't know if these people are coming in there just to eat and then leave, or they're coming in there to sit there for 2 hours and bullshit with their friends and then to stick around and drink free beer or cheap beer. So that's why it takes forever to get a table, and it's unknown if it's going to take you 20 minutes to get a table or if it's going to take an hour to get a table. But that's part of, they don't really know how to present themselves correctly.
Yeah, and then you probably have a lot of locals and you know regulars that coming in and out of there. So you have waiters or waitresses that know these people, and they just sit and bullshit with them instead of doing a damn job.
See, but the problem with that is we've been going to this thing for 2 years, every Tuesday, or a year and a half every Tuesday. At least enough of us to where they know us. They see us coming in. They know who we are. A lot of times we do get reservations, and we still get that same service, which is bizarre to me. I don't know. Maybe we do something wrong or whatever, but we're essentially regulars at this place on Tuesdays.
Yeah, moving on from me just being seated. Right, she came over, had gotten our beers, and then it must have been a good 10 minutes then from the moment that she dropped off like the drinks to when she finally came back then to actually like take the order. And other people weren't coming in, right? Like people weren't being sat down. So it's like, well, who else are you checking on, right? Now I get that they have their sections of the restaurant to where they got to go, see if anybody else needs a refill and whatnot. But you should be having on your little sheet, well, this table, like I know that they haven't even got their food yet.
Not to mention we did tell her we wanted to order food before we had gotten our drinks, and she said, hey, let me go drop off these drinks first and I'll come back to you. And it still took her a good 15 minutes to come back.
Yeah. So She finally comes back. We throw down our order. And from that moment, you know, I sat there and I got like this little platter of a whole bunch of, you know, just junk food and greasy, you know, goodness. But before that, for whatever reason, I was just craving like this Greek salad. So I threw down this Greek salad as well beforehand. Don't judge me. All right. It just looked good, right? Just looking at like the feta cheese, the banana peppers, the olives, right? Having that more tangy dressing. I forgot what dressing normally goes on a Greek salad or whatever. But anywho, you know, like I made it a point to say, hey, I'd like to get a Greek salad. I want that to come out first, though. And then, you know, I want the platter to come along, you know, when everybody else's food comes along. And yes, my Greek salad did come out before my platter, but it seemed like it still took a while just for a salad to come out. And then when I was done with the salad, I mean, I was somewhat happy with the break, I guess, in between before like my platter actually came out. But it did seem as an overall whole, though, it took an ungodly amount of time for all the food to come out. Because my salad should have came out sooner, then had that break, then we should have got our food. So, but the piece that I wanted to throw in there, though, after we ordered, then there's like this group of 6 people at like a 4-man booth, you know, kitty cornered from us. And as she's done taking our order, then she starts chatting it up with some fat bitch, right, that was sitting over there. And I'm thinking, no. This ain't the time to be chit-chatting, right? Because that's what it was. It wasn't taking an order down. This girl got out of the booth, comes, oh, hey, how are you? You know, did you get the new fucking... No. You shut the fuck up, go put my order in, then you could come back and talk. And so we just... Service, from what I remember, has gone to shit. And it pisses me off.
It's just this place. This place is definitely not known for the service, but...
Which is why I don't like going there.
Yeah.
But I think you run into that with a lot of bars. I mean, especially sports bars, you know. So, I mean, you got, because like you said, you got people bullshitting with other customers instead of going to put your order in or bringing you, you know, your food. Because I've seen them. I've sat there, and I'm like, okay, that must be my food they're bringing out. But they're sitting and bullshit at another booth before they come drop my food off, you know, and let my food get cold. Why, you know, they sit and talk shit.
Right.
And they're not dealing with customer, you know, fucking restaurant issues. You know, it's just, oh, hey, I haven't seen you in a while.
And the reason I'm still okay with this place is because you get 50-cent wings, really cheap appetizers, and $2 craft beers. Like, a lot of these beers we're getting for $2 would typically be $7, $8 beers. So I'm happy with it because if we go to any other restaurant and I drink 3 or 4 beers and get a couple appetizers and 12 wings, it's going to cost me $40. Here, it's going to cost me $15.
Yeah.
So I can put up with shitty service on a Tuesday to go here, but I would never go there any other day because I'm not going to pay full price
So
for
was it
shitty
crowded
service.
there? Yes,
It's always crowded on a Tuesday. Like, all their booths are full other than these stupid reservations that they get. But the place is always packed on Tuesday. And they don't do well with this always packed.
Because another thing, a lot of times, I mean, a lot of these fucking waitresses or waiters, they don't know how to deal with the crowd. So a lot
Even
of
though
times,
they do it every single one.
yeah.
That's what's
But
blows
then,
my
I
mind.
mean, it may not even be their fault. It could be the people back in the kitchen fault, you know?
See, so I can put so much to the people in the kitchen when it comes to, like, the food quality and, like, the food coming out late and all that stuff, potentially, but that's typically when they put it in. But just the simple fact that it could take time to take our order or time, I'll order my beer, and it should be there around 5 o'clock, 5:05, and it'll be 5:25 before I even get my beer. And that is the part that it's the waitress at that point, not really the people in the back.
Or the bartender or whatever. Because I've had that. And then sometimes, some places, they won't even allow you to get out your seat and go to the bar and order, you know, a drink. Because, you know, versus sitting there waiting, you know, like
Right.
you said, 15, 20 minutes for your drink that you expect should have been out in 5 minutes, you know.
But even being crowded, this is... Look, I think restaurant... Maybe this is 102. I don't want to say restaurant 101, but maybe 102, right, revolves around when you're taking your sweet ass time throughout the entire experience of somebody coming in to eat, right, or a group of 4, that you are creating this backlog
Oh, yeah.
of people, because if you get people that are, and I'm not saying it's got to be, this rush, but if you get people their drinks, right, then as soon as you drop the drinks off, hey, are we ready to order, right? Then you take their food, you immediately go put it in, right? You bring the food back the way it's supposed to. So if it's an appetizer, right, or some salads coming out before a steak or some other pre-meal, you bring that out. Boom, you get the food, you bring it out, you let them eat. You keep an eye on those people. As soon as they are, right, I mean, when they are close to being done eating, you drop those checks off, right? Or you at least come around and say, hey, can I get anybody a refill? I mean, you could do that you could preemptively strike. Would anybody like to get dessert? Like, no? Okay. And yeah, if not, then, okay, you can either go back and get the checks, or if you just printed them off, right, you can hand them there. I mean, if somebody wants to order a dessert, whatever, you just take it down and go back to the damn, register and then bring up the dessert on that. But that's how you get people out. Because after you put those checks down, sure, yes, there are going to be people that are going to sit there, for a little bit, still let food digest down, but when they know that, like, the service is done, right, and they're out of there.
Right.
But when you just let people linger on, then you start getting a backlog.
Right, and this place is especially bad for this because it'll take us 15 minutes to get our checks after we're done eating, and then half of us will have our credit cards already out at this point, and then it takes another 10 minutes for them to come back over and for them to even to pick up our credit cards. So this place is pretty bad for that.
Yeah. No, it's horrible. Now, let me end this service piece. Then, right, in my experience at this restaurant, what we run into before, right, what you end up getting is the automatic gratuity.
Right.
Right now, look, I'm torn on whether I think that should be a automatic thing or not. Right, given the party size, to me, I think it's bullshit. So, realistically, what we should be doing is there should be. I don't like tips, period. So that gratuity should be automatically included into the food, right? Into the cost of the food. I mean, I don't think waitresses should be off. Let me back up a little bit. I don't care currently, right, that there is a minimum wage and then there is a
waitress minimum wage?
Yeah, a waitress minimum wage, because you chose to do that job, right? So to me, that would tell you that if you're going into that business, you better start doing, right, your fucking job so you get better tips and you get better money, which then goes back to hustle these people right the fuck out, right? Because at very least you're doing volume then, and you should be making the money back. So not the simple fact. I don't necessarily want to talk on should gratuity be automatic or not. We can discuss that later and debate that later, because multiple countries right around the world just do not have gratuity, right, and they actually pay their waitresses a standard wage, or the minimum wage, right. That way they don't have to run into these issues. And from what I understand, the restaurant experiences then, or going out to eat, is a lot better that way. But what I hate is when they come back and say, we can't split your check. What the fuck do you mean you cannot split the check? It's not that fucking hard.
Well, that's just laziness, because then they have to go back and actually do math and try to figure shit out. So.
The computer does math.
You don't have to do the math. You just have to know what each person ordered, which you can go back and ask them.
But even at that point, they still fuck it up, because they still bring it back after they split it up, and they have other people's shit on yours.
No, you're right. They do fuck it up. But how do they fuck that up? When you're initially taking that order, right? Are you not putting on your little, whatever, seat one, right what they want, line, two, line, right?
It should be pretty easy.
But I think it goes back to like you said, like, what type of restaurant are you at, and what do you expect from these people that they hire?
Sure.
Quality.
But, okay, why does this have to be a restaurant thing? Is this not just a common sense, like, what? How do you not know how you should be do they not go out to eat? Do these waitresses and waiters not go out to eat?
And you can clearly tell by our party that we're not a family. Okay, like it's a family of 6 people, a mom and dad and 4 kids. Okay, they're probably not gonna split this shit.
Right.
You get 10 adults that are coming in at different times. Like 2 people have already left. 2 more people are walking in 40 minutes after they've already showed up. Like, you think we really want to have one consolidated check at this point? Like, come on. I mean, you know that we're not obviously going to be doing
easier to
this.
make it one consolidated check.
And then they're going to get shorted. I mean, because I'm not
for
going to front this if other people have left. I'm just going to say sorry.
Yeah, it's just like you said with the gratuity shit. Because I mean, even here in the fucking U.S., you have places that have gratuity. Okay, a party of 10, we're gonna automatically add it in. But if a waitress is smart enough, they're going to kill that, and they're just going to take the tips because they're more than likely going to make more off tips from a party of 10 than they would have on gratuity. You know, so it's just all about. Honestly, I feel like it's all about who that waitress or waiter is. You know, if they're new to the shit, then they're probably going to fuck it up. But I mean, yeah. And then, like you said, do they not go out to eat? You know how people are. I mean, they won't fucking. They're not gonna do unto others as they won't done it to them.
That is a fact.
Yeah,
Thomas does know how people are.
So they'll complain about the same shit they do at work.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't.
And yeah,
no, I know exactly what you mean. But like I said, going to restaurants most time, I mean, I know exactly what to expect. But unless I'm paying, like, so for instance, if I'm going to High Steaks or whatever at Thunder Valley and I'm paying $60, $70 a plate.
High Steaks is one of the restaurants around here, which is within the local casino, Thunder Valley.
Yeah,
just so people are aware what we're. But high end steakhouse. But anyways, go on.
So I'm not going to expect the same type of service if I was going to
like a Chili's or an Applebee's.
Chili's or Applebee's, right? Exactly. You know, so
because you know the type of people who are hired at like a Chili's.
Yeah,
I guess one of our points to give it a comparison to everyone listening, this place that we go for Pint Night, the level of service is like a low-end, shitty Applebee's.
I'd say it's a really low end. I mean, because at least
one
when
waitress working the entire bar at an Applebee's and they don't know what they're doing.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I've never. I can't. I don't recall the last time, if I ever have done this, but the last time that I had sat at a bar within Chili's or Applebee's.
I mean the bar area, not the dining.
Oh, okay. Well, what I would say to that is, at least when you have that chain restaurant style, yeah, things are going to be mass produced, right? Whether the food and just how everything is, right? I mean, if you go into one Chili's, it's probably going to be the same as the next Chili's, no matter what state you go to. But at least they have a training plan, right? And they have, I mean, at least they have down. This is how it should be. This is how you should seat people. This is where you should seat people. But when you get into these one-off restaurants, or local businesses, the mom and pop shops, which hey, I'm okay with, right? Small business, whatever normally your gems, or your hole in the wall places, right, are not going to be the chain restaurants. So, yeah. Anyways, I agree with you that the place that we go to is on the very low end of for the comparison a Chili's or an Applebee's, but I would rather go to a chain restaurant over this place that we go to, because I think it would far outclass it, and that is saying something from a chain restaurant.
And I will say that I believe the food and the drinks are much better here than at Applebee's, Chili's, but the service, I get better service at any chain restaurant than I would get here.
Yeah. All right, so hey, look, if you have an experience or some sort of other outlook that we have not covered, or you think I got something wrong, go ahead and find us on Twitter at ViewsandFacts. You can also find us on Facebook and at YouTube. Again, it's at ViewsandFacts. And let us know your experiences and what else we could possibly say about this. We're going to take a short break, and we will be right back.